Well, every normal person like me, you, everyone in the UK, you see like the times that they get in jails, don't you? See like drug dealer, 5 year, murderer, maybe 10 year, something like 10 to 15 year. Then you see like paedophile, 2,000 images downloaded, 20 counts of touching a minor, 8 months. And you just think, how could you possibly get 8 months for something so disgusting? Why isn't that higher than like a murderer or a drug dealer and things like that?
Well, the reason is, and in order to understand all this, John, and I'm not assuming that you don't, but for the benefit of your audience or my audience, approximately, let's just say 8,000 years ago, in the times of Babylon, you might hear the name Babylon, these greedy little bunch of narcissists got together and they create something called the money system, right? They worked out that rather than using money as a fair system of exchange, like you come and, I don't know, plow my field, John, I'm going to give you 10 loaves of bread, right? That's all it was. It wasn't about profiting over you or trying to get my power by screwing you up, right? It was just a system of exchange. And then these greedy little men said, well, hang on, let's take the bread out of the equation. Or they used to trade with things like periwinkles, I think it was, and, you know, cockle shells. And it didn't matter. It was just for exchange, right? They took that out of the equation. They started writing numbers on bits of paper, calling it money, right?
Right.
So you chuck your cockle shells in their vault, they're safe. They'd write you this promissory note that told you how much you've got. And then what they did is they moved these operations into churches and temples and palaces by kind of slowly corrupting the leaders, so the religious leaders, the kings, the presidents, whoever they might be. And what that did is it gave them an aura of superiority, like, you know, this isn't just about the money. I'm to do with this church, so I'm something to do with God. So you've got to respect me, right? And it was just all a scam. It's the most evil system that they came up with. So they're keeping this ledger of stuff they've got in their vault, and then they, as greedy human beings do, quickly worked out how they could fiddle the ledger and start lending more of these bits of paper out than they actually had goods in the vault, so to speak, and then doing people deals, what we would now call loans, that then had to be paid back with interest, right? And in biblical terms, it's called usury, right? Money lending. Hence why in the Bible, and I'm not saying this to be religious or anything, but, you know, it's a very clever book, a lot of those lessons. This is, you see Jesus threw the moneylenders out of the temple. It's because he realized this was a system that was going to fully enslave man if it didn't stop, right? It wasn't about them using his God's house, although it obviously was as well. So what's happened is these religious leaders that should be looking after their clergy, or these kings that should be looking after their people, right? Because that's your job. If you're a king, you're an elected leader, say. I mean, okay, I know kings is normally birthright, but the idea is you look after your people. Well, these evil little men started to say to them, well, you know, it's not about looking after your people. It's about how much money you've got in your bank account, because that is how you measure your value or worth. And these people that obviously weren't as smart as these greedy little men went, oh, okay. What? So this gold, this ring, this makes me important. Yeah, it makes you very important, sir. It makes you better than these and this is, you can see how it all evolved. Metal, gold was just a part of a rock, right? That's all it is. Part of suddenly had value ascribed to it, right? And this value then comes into play and corrupts the minds of the people that should be looking after society. So to sort of fast forward to where we are now, one of the games that these greedy little men play, I call them the Babylonian money mafia because it comes from ancient Babylon, right? And it's where all our current financial system stems back from then, right? This fractional reserve banking where a bank only has to have, let's say, 10% of the money in its account to actually lend out 100% to the public, right? So basically money that doesn't exist. It's just bits of paper with numbers printed on, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't exist. So then when they want to cause a stock market crash, they just they raise the interest rates or whatever, and they pull some of the money back in, and people are no longer trading, so they can't pay their bills, so they can't pay the loans back, so the businesses start folding, the businesses fold, people can't buy stuff. It's just, I won't profess I'm the cleverest person at understanding it all, but I get it, right? You know, it's not difficult to get that if you control the money supply, you control everything. And in order to perpetuate this system of evil, they need corrupt people. This is why you see this pedophilia being pushed on the public all over the place, right? At the same time as the public are brainwashed through mainstream media not to see it. The Netflix show that's just come out, God, there's a name, I can't remember the name, but I'm sure someone will put it in our comments section, but they've just brought out this program, this production, and it's 10-year-old girls trying to emulate being adult sexy dancers. And I mean, if you went to a strip show in the Reeperbahn in Hamburg, you'd be seeing this stuff, except this is by 10-year-old girls. It's insane. And
talk about trauma. Like, what are them girls going to think when they get to 17, 18? They're going to remember them times, aren't they?
17,
creepy
18,
old men.
And realise that they've had hundreds of thousands, if not millions of pedophiles masturbating over them, you know, and that their parents let them do it.
Yeah.
And that this company put it on air, right? And, you know, why does this happen? It's because when you've got a society full of corrupted people, you can blackmail them. You can blackmail them when they're not holding up the gold standard of behavior. When they know they're doing wrong, they're blackmailable. And this is why we see these politicians making these outrageous, ludicrous statements and decisions and taking us into wars which clearly don't benefit anybody, right? Or this current situation where the mass just does not add up to what we're doing to our children's freedoms. Then you can start to understand it all comes back to this 8,000 years ago or whatever, to ancient Babylon, where these greedy little bastards got together and worked out a way that they can enslave humanity, right? And it's all grown from there. So yeah,